Welcome to Radio 64. Welcome to Radio 64, Video Game Music Remix Radio. I'm your host, Eric Mickles, also known online as duskvstweak. Radio 64 is part of the Radio Meanwhile Network. Visit radiomeanwhile.com for more information about this and other great podcasts. You can share your thoughts on this episode and request music by following the show on Facebook or Twitter at Radio64Pod. Please rate, subscribe, and share the show on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever you get your podcast. We opened the show with Theme of Frogs by Select Start from ocremix.org from the game Chrono Trigger. And that mix is an old favorite of mine. I think it's just so unpretentious. You know, it's under 2 minutes, and it's this lovely little strings piece. It's not taking the Frogs theme and making it this big, bombastic take or anything. It's keeping it it's a very conservative take of Frogs theme from Chrono Trigger, but it just does it with such skill and love. There's so much heart in that mix, and it feels heroic while also staying humble, just like Frog, just like that man turned into a frog. Frog is one of my favorite character designs, not just in Chrono Trigger, but in general, that heroic frog knight. He's just so brave. Up next is a track from Super Metroid by Big Giant Circles. We haven't featured a Big Giant Circles song in a while. This is definitely the style of music that BGC does, where it's just pure electronic energy. This song is just pulsing. It's moving at 100 miles an hour. The electronic synth sound in here is so extreme, it's so intense that when it does take that slow down moment to get the breathing effects in there, to almost create that cinematic quality of like, will the hero make it, or have they given up all their energy? And then it just pumps it back up. It's so exciting and fist pumping. And in that moment where the beat skips near the end and it just goes full blast to the ending, it's an extreme mix. This is In Your Prime by Big Giant Circles from ocremix.org from the game Super Metroid. That was In Your Prime by Big Giant Circles from OceansAndrew.org from the game Super Metroid. It starts out with that Brinstar theme, but it just picks up that sparkling adrenaline. It's fantastic. It feels like chugging a soda at full speed. So I never played Psycho Pinball back on a game on DOS. I had a lot of fun playing Space Cadet Pinball. I did learn a lot about the history of pinball video games recently. There was a YouTube series done by Tim Scott recently, going through a multi-videos look at the history of the pinball video games under Broken Circus on YouTube. So you can go to youtube.com Broken Circus to watch this. It was informative, and it was exciting. It was cool. I wanted to get back into both pinball machines and check out some of the pinball games I haven't played, and I guess Psycho Pinball would be here. The track we're playing is just it's weird. It's a weird track, a weird sound, probably a little happy, a little goofy at times, having this strange lo-fi carnival theme to it, also reminding me of what little I've heard of the Earthbound soundtrack. So yeah, just a strange mix. Anyway, this is Kamomilla by Eino, Keskitalo from OceansAndrew.org from the game Psycho Pinball. Kamomilla by Eino Keskitalo from OceansAndrew.org from the game Psycho Pinball. Yeah, and again, so that's youtube.com Broken Circus for the history of video game pinball games. Watching these pinball games enter 3D and try to figure out what that means is interesting. A little hard to watch sometimes, but interesting. And we have just a warm, comforting Donkey Kong Country track here. This is called Rest and Respite on a Soft Summer Night. It's remixing that Cranky's theme from Donkey Kong Country. It's just this lovely acoustic piece that just welcomes you home. And, you know, the title right there, A Soft Summer Night, I feel it. I feel that warm summer night. The fireflies and the bugs just sitting on your porch, Listen to that acoustic. I love it. And this song makes me very nostalgic for those calmer moments in Donkey Kong Country, the relaxing moments. This is Rest and Respite on a Soft Summer Night by Unknown from OC Remix's album, Kong in Concert, from the game Donkey Kong Country. That was Rest and Respite on a Soft Summer Night by Unknown from OC Remix's album Kong in Concert from the game Donkey Kong Country. I talk a lot about Donkey Kong Country 1 and 2, but Donkey Kong Country 1 isn't one that I've replayed in a long time, and it is on the Super Nintendo Mini. So I guess part of me is a little worried that maybe I'll go there and it won't be as tight of a gameplay experience as I remember it, but I think it's gonna hold up. I guess I've just been a little nervous to go back, but at least I know the music will still be on point. Our next track is a little deceitful because it's called Teenage Mutant Ninja Koopa. When you listen to it, it's not that exciting shell shock sound that you get with Ninja Turtle themes. This is a jazzy, funky piece with some saxophone in there. We got XPRTNovice on there with the saxophone again, and I love a good saxophone. I've said it before and I'll say it again. More saxophone in video game remixes. But yeah, this is a jazzy, funky piece coming from the first Paper Mario game back on the Nintendo 64. A game I was dumb and ignored because it looked different and I really wasn't into JRPGs too much at the time. It came out in 2000, so I was only just playing my first one, Final Fantasy VI. So I just ignored it, and now people love it. This is a collab project with a lot of different elements happening, a lot of different instruments, really feeling like a live performance, really feeling improv. This is Teenage Mutant Ninja Koopa by jnWake, UV Sir J, XPRTNovice from OCRemix.org from the game Paper Mario. That was Teenage Mutant Ninja Koopa by jnWake, UV Sir J, Expert Novice, from OceansAndrew from the game Paper Mario 64. I guess we call it Paper Mario 64 in retrospect now. That's something I miss a little bit, being able to call games after their system. This is Super Mario Brothers. This is Super Street Fighter. This is Super Mario 64. This is Mario Kart 64. You know the example. I miss that. We don't say that anymore. We're like, oh, check out The Last of Us 2, PlayStation 4. You sound ridiculous doing that. A couple years later, after Paper Mario, Final Fantasy 11. Final Fantasy 11 Online kind of broke my heart a little bit because I was now into the Final Fantasy games, and by this time played at least the back half of the Final Fantasy games, Final Fantasy 6 through 10, and would have been a big fan and was waiting for the new one. Then Final Fantasy 11 came out and turned out to be an online-only game, and my internet was not good enough, nor did I really understand the MMO and even hooking up the PS2 to the internet. I didn't have the money to be paying a monthly subscription fee to games, so it's just not one I ever played. Though I think Final Fantasy 11 still has some life in it. People are still playing it. This is a relaxing, chill piece, more background ambient music. Listen to it while you study, listen to it while you read kind of music. It just puts you in a very mellow mood. It's a nice long track, gives a lot of time to create that atmosphere. This is called Paradis by MV from OCRemix.org from the game Final Fantasy XI Online. That was Paradis by MV from OCRemix.org from the game Final Fantasy XI Online. I like it because the main groove is a mellow one, but you can still kind of bob your head and rock back and forth to it without even knowing it. It kind of lulls you into this relaxed state. But not this track. This one is all aggression. This track is a Tyrannosaurus Rex on a caffeine high. You don't really think so for that first 15 seconds with the kind of hoppy little synth sound in there. But then the metal rock comes in, and OceansAndrew, I usually think of him as much more of a synth electronic kind of performer, but this is pure metal. I mean, it's remixing a whole bunch of tracks from the Castlevania series, both Symphony of the Night and the original. I mean, you got Vampire Killer in here, you got Heart of Fire, you got Dracula's Castle. All that's being remixed in this thrashing metal rock. It's hardcore. So this is Legacy of Darkness by OceansAndrew from OCRemix.org from the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night. That was Legacy of Darkness by OceansAndrew from OceanRemix.org from the game Castlevania Symphony of the Night. Yeah, that thing just can't stop. Symphony of the Night, that's a game that absolutely holds up to its reputation, is not overhyped at all. Next up is a real interesting track. It's remixing the Hidden Place Zone and the Lava Reef Zone from Sonic and Knuckles. And there's a lot going on in this track. It does a lot of different styles throughout it. There's some very heavy electronic guitar in here, but then also the synth, which is really going throughout the whole thing, is mixed in interesting ways. It gets warped, it gets stretched, it gets bounced bounced around. It feels like it's drowning at time. It feels overdubbed. There's just some really unique techniques going on in this track, and it doesn't make it as catchy as some other Lava Reef tracks that I've heard, but it makes it stand out. And yeah, I can't shake it. This is Lava Reach by Jivemaster from OCRemix.org from the game Sonic and Knuckles. That was Lava Reach by Jivemaster from OceansAndrew.org from the game Sonic and Knuckles. Yeah, it's funny how it can feel like a 90s workout jam, and also like it goes to an 80s sci-fi movie like Blade Runner. We're playing the Morrowind title theme here, and you guessed it comes from the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. What I like about this is it's really leaning into the history, that middle-aged kind of sound, with a very Celtic rendition of the Morrowind theme. It's heavy on the woodwinds. There's electric guitar in there that I think really does complement the Celtic instruments throughout the Celtic composition. It feels like it's coming out of something like Celtic women. The electric guitar is mixed in a way that it doesn't feel different. It doesn't necessarily even feel electric. It feels almost like it kind of fits with the woodwinds in there, in the piano. It feels like electric guitar going acoustic. Kind of reminds me of the Halo theme a bit, how it walks that line with its electric guitar and its rock styles while also having that Gregorian chant in there. So this is the final stage by Freemind from OceansAndrew.org from the game The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. That was The Final Stage by Freemind from OCRemix.org from the game The Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind. Bought Elder Scrolls 3 as a teenager. I think I got like that in the 2 expansions. I played for maybe 2 days and I was just like, I don't know where I am. I am 100% lost. I think I got to a cave and I fought a ghost, but I didn't know if I found anything. So I was just kind of like, what am I doing? I do not think I was in the right mindset, and I don't think I really understood what I was supposed to be doing. And yeah, I probably did the game a disservice playing it when I did. Up next is a track from the game X Out. I had to look it up. It looks like you're one of the 2D scrolling shooter games where your ship just flying through a whole bunch of different levels, maybe sometimes underwater in a lava area. Didn't look too dissimilar from R-Type, though a bit slower, I think. Back on the C64 in 1989. This remix, though, pure synth, pure electronica. Put this on in a club, I think it will go over well. This is LiquidX by Binster from ocremix.org from the game X Out.
LiquidX, I cannot okay.
That was LiquidX by Binster from ocremix.org from the game X Out. Yeah, that whole track just feels like a party. I think if at the beginning of the song, if there was a voice sample in there of somebody saying, "Let's get this party started," it would match in there. It doesn't feel too far removed from a DDR song. And that was the last track of the show. So thank you for listening to Radio 64, Video Game Music Remix Radio. I have been your host, Eric Mickles, also known online as duskvstweak. Radio 64 is part of the Radio Meanwhile network. You can visit RadioMeanwhile.com for more information about this and other great podcasts. Share your thoughts on this episode. Request music by following the show on Facebook or Twitter at Radio64Pod. Please rate, subscribe, and share this show on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. Thank you for listening.